Models, the ultimate hobby. This is the building of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to create a beautiful centerpiece, to seek out new builders and young model makers, to boldly go where no model has gone before.
Welcome back to the Model Frontier, everyone. We're going to do the next stages of building the Enterprise D. If you're new to the channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a second of my great content. So in our first video on this model, we built the first two kits you get in your introductory kit for Eaglemoss / Hero Collector, which I'm going to here on refer to as Eaglemoss, to build your Enterprise D model. Since you're watching this video, I'm going to assume you've either subscribed to get this model for yourself, or you're still kind of on the fence and you want to see how easy this is or how difficult it is before committing to the commitment. Well, you're in luck today, because we're going to start with we're going to actually put together the first official shipment you will get, which means you're going to start getting 4 kits every month as opposed to 2. Now each kit you get is going to come with one of these magazines, and this is something I want to briefly touch on here before we get to making our model. So as I said in the intro, this magazine you get every month, and it has several distinct sections, which you may have noticed from your first shipment. Right up front, in this issue section, you'll see all the information about the model. The first thing you'll see is usually several pages showing you the parts that you should get in each kit. It shows you with a visual as well as a list of what each part should be. It's handy if you want to make sure you have all the parts you need and everything else that you should be getting. Then it gives you very detailed instructions as far as what you're going to be doing in each part. One thing I do like about it is that the section you're going to be working on, you'll notice they highlight quite clearly in yellow throughout each section. So very easy to follow, very easy to see what you're going to be working on, so you shouldn't lose your place and you're never going to be lost putting this thing together. After the instructions about that month's assembly, you get into some show stuff. Like the first issue, you get different ways that they designed the Enterprise D to get it to where it is. It's basically a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that you might not see on the show. The first 2 issues focus mostly on the design of the ship and, the design of the sets and, the bridge and everything. And that's about the first 2 issues of it. Starting with issue 3, this section will look at each individual episode and give you some behind-the-scenes facts about the episode, such as, concept drawings. There's a thing on the badge that they were thinking about, how they were going to make the badge a communicator. Interviews with different cast members, like here's a thing where they talk about Q. Really interesting stuff to read, really fascinating visuals and things that you don't normally see in behind-the-scenes footage. Good to read if you're a fan of the show and you just want something more to do than just put together a model. Now also with this particular shipment, you'll also get a binder to keep your magazines in. Now, personally, I feel like this is a case of great concept, bad execution. These are the clips they give you. I don't know if you can see it because it's so small, but they're basically these plastic things that you're supposed to stick between the pages of your magazine as you put each one into the binder. Now, while this will work for the first couple of books just fine, once you start getting more and more magazines, it becomes a lot harder to put them in here. So I don't find this as useful a tool to hold your magazines as far as they want, but it's a good thing to just have, you know, putting your magazines in and just keeping them all in one place so you don't lose them later. So that's all I have about the magazines. Let's get to the meat of this video and let's put these next 4 kits together on your model. Engage. And welcome back, guys. So for this part, we're starting stage 3, and it is going to be both the battery pack and the beginning of the main deflector dish. So let's get started. Okay, so first they're having us work on the battery pack. You would think they could just assemble this, but you know, these are, you know, meant to make you spend money, so they want to keep you busy. So that's what they're doing here. So these are all the parts we need. You will have a bolt and a nut that you will not use anywhere else. So this is the only spot you'll use it. The first step, they want you to put the nut into this hole here, and it's all, I don't know if you can see, there you go. It's pre-cut, so I'm using my tweezer just because it is a small nut. Just kind of grab your, you're just going to take your nut, slot it in, fit it in there, press it down. Now that's in. And then we need 2 of our BM screws. Okay, so now we got the nut in. We're going to attach this piece to the battery pack. It just kind of slots in. There's a groove right there. You want that up top. And then you're going to fix it into place with 2 BP screws. Now, the instructions do have a little bit of a mistake on the picture showing this, which you should be seeing right now. You'll see it says BM, but the written instructions say BP. If you're ever in doubt, just always remember the P screws connect plastic to plastic, and the M screws connect to metal. Since this is plastic, you go with the P. Just like that, that piece is on. Okay, so now all that's left is to put the battery cover onto the battery pack. Standard battery cover. You'll notice we got 3 things to keep in mind. We got these two things here, these 2 pegs, and a metal thing. If you look on here, now you're supposed to put the batteries in, but I've already got another one set up, so I don't need to do that. But you'll notice you got the 2 grooves here, and you've got the metallic part right here. Now, normally, this part is straight. You're going to kind of want to bend it up a little bit because it has to be touching this metal piece as you're putting it into place. So if you bend it, it kind of makes it easier to do. So you're just going to get that into position, and then we're going to screw the battery pack down. There you go. Now your battery pack is done and ready to power your Enterprise D. So now it's time to put together the deflector dish to start putting on the details on this. You can see we're going to have some electrics. You can see we have a lot of parts here, it seems, but they're all plastic, so that means we use the BP screws on these. The first step is we're putting together this piece. Very straightforward. You're basically making an arm to hold something, I think, to put on the back of the deflector. One BP screw to hold it all together. Screw. Put your piece together. You'll feel it kind of slide into place. And then screw it on in. There you go. Now don't go too tight because again, these are plastic. You don't want to break them. Next, we're going to need 2 more BP screws. So have them ready to go. We're going to attach this to the inside of that. Now you might be wondering how this is going to go. This is the way it's going to look. So you can see right here there's a wider side and there's a wider side up top and the narrower side on the bottom. Top is wide, narrow bottom. You'll feel it slot in, like there's no cut grooves or anything, but it feels like the holes here kind of have a little bit of a dip and these kind of stick out, or these stick out a little bit, but you know, you slide it around and you'll just kind of feel it, pop into place there. Once you get that in, get your BP screws. Place. You're going to put it in these 2 holes here. And again, carefully tighten. You don't want there to be any play on that. You can see there's no wiggle room there, but you don't want to over tighten it because you could break something. Next, we're going to attach this to this. Again, looks like plastic to plastic, means BP screws. Now one thing they do advise, and I would recommend doing it, is for like plastic stuff especially, you kind of want to start the holes up because sometimes they don't drill them good, especially when they're small. So what you want to do is kind of just take your screw, go in just a couple turns, just to get it started, and then come back out. That's going to get your hole started. You can do that on both sides. I've already done it on mine, so I don't need to do it again. As far as how this goes, it's really simple. There's no one direction. It's just going to kind of sit on there. And then you want to screw it in. Again, do not tighten, do not over tighten. Going anywhere good. I'll share with you a little something. When I did this on the first one, because I did put it together with the broken one before I got the new one, and I over tightened this step and actually broke these two plastic pieces. So again, just enough so there's no play, not overly tightening it. Don't want to break this. Now it's the electrics. Again, they only give you 1 set of electrics. Mine's already been pre-bent and everything. You're gonna have to play around with yours a little bit, and this might be another place where you want to use your glue, but this is just really simple. Let's get our 2 BP screws out. Looks like all BP on step 3. Alright, and then we have 2 pieces here. They're going to hold your lights in place. They're both the same. There's no specialty things. They just kind of slot in there. And then you screw them in. So just set your thing down, set your light in. your light. Slot that in, get that into the slot, hold it down, and get it screwed in. Okay. I always like to give that a little tug, make sure it's not going anywhere. And then we do the same thing on the other side. So that's it. The whole step is done. Obviously, that means this piece we don't actually use, but I am leaving it out for a reason. On top of the battery pack, you see they gave you a circuit board. This is the circuit board you can use to start testing your electrics out. I will advise, once you get this, check all your light bulbs. So like, what I like to do is I like to keep mine permanently hooked in. It has a small port that goes into either one of these two smaller ports, E or F. Doesn't really matter. You're just supplying power. The instructions say to put it in F. I'm just going to follow the instructions, but you should be able to put it in whatever. So now this thing's getting juice. This thing's getting power. So I mean, like, you want to see how this looks. Now this part don't really matter. It tells you this is part D, but just for testing purposes, you can put it in whatever slot you want. They're all the same size. See that all lit up? And then, just for fun, I like to do that, so you can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. And like I said, from this point on, if your kit comes with electrics, it's a good idea to just go ahead and plug it in, and just to make sure, you know, all your electrics are working. It's a good idea to make sure that everything's working, so that if it's not, you can always send away for another kit. You can always say, hey, Eaglemoss, the kit's not working. I need a new one. But that's it for step 3. So coming up next, we're going to do step 4, which is a lot of tedious work, but it's work that needs to be done. Alright everyone, welcome back. We're going to do stage 4 today. You can see there is a lot of stuff to this. So it looks like stage 4, we got 3 sections of the deck. We got 3 deck plates, 2 reflector panels, and a bunch of lights. That's not the worst part of this part, though. You're going to see what the worst part is in a minute here. So without further ado, let's just get started. Now our first step, they want us to have this piece here. So we're going to put all these to the side. So we're working on this piece now. You can see all these holes here. Now, unlike on the bridge where they gave you an entire plate with all these windows put in it, they don't do that here. So you're stuck having to put in each and every individual window and light pod. So that's a pain. Now, I'm not going to lie, this part is going to take you a little bit. It is tedious. Best piece of advice I can give you, get all of your parts ready to go first. Take your time and be ready to be frustrated. So for this piece, we need the 6 escape pods, 15 dark windows, and 15 regular windows. Okay, so there we have all of our parts that we need for this. Now, it's important to note that they say they do this with the windows so that you're free to put the pieces to have whatever windows you choose to have light and dark for your choice. They go with what's screen accurate, with what looks screen accurate, so that's what I'm doing here. But again, as I always say, it's your model, do with it what you want. So now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the light pods in, and again that red line goes towards the bottom. They just kind of slot in there. are some people that talk about possibility of there being bleed through when the lights are behind this. I will post a link on a mod how to combat that. Again, if you're going to do it, this would be the time to do it, because again, once you get stuff together, you really don't want to be taking stuff apart just to do simple modifications. Now normally I'd flip this over to show you how it looks, but I don't want those to fall out. So now, I'm going to use a pair of tweezers for this part. Now, we got 15 of these clear windows and 15 of these dark windows. The way I do it, and you can feel free to do it however you want, but the way I do it is I'm going to put in all the dark windows first. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to put in all the light windows. I'm going to follow the instructions and get those all in. So, again, since there's 30 of these things, I'm not going to do that on camera here in front of you. So I'm going to go put them in and come back with them all put in. Okay, now all the windows are in. You can see now several dark spots and several white spots. What you might want to do, you see that one just popped right out there when when a couple of these popped out. These kind of just sit in there, so it's very tough to get them in. And what I might recommend doing is just kind of getting a hold of it, kind of gently but sort of firmly nudging everything into place. Sure all these are flat flush. So now the next step after we get those in is we're putting the electrics in, and we are gonna basically seal this up so that these don't go anywhere. So for that we need the reflector, one of our electric wires, and 3 of these BP screws, because again, we're joining the plastic. Now, you might, and again, there is no hard and fast thing on this, but you may want to use glue on this part just because of how difficult this is. But you can see these have a lot bigger grooves in the things here. They intend you to put the bulbs in they kind of sit a little more securely in there, and then you're going to flip it over and bring it right to the thing. Now there are holes here. These are the 3 there are a bunch of holes here. These are the 3 we're going to screw it into, and then you got this hole and this hole, which are what these are going to go in through. So what I would recommend doing is this one, get it on one of these first. Need to use a little push to get it in there. Now let's screw this in so that these window panes don't come out. Now that's it. That piece is now done. I'm not going to do this with every one of them, but I'm just going to show you. So there you go. All of our windows lit up how they should, how the book says to do them. So we got that part out of the way. So now we're going to put this piece off to the side, and we'll get our next set of stuff. Alright, so you can see here we're going to be doing the same thing, putting a bunch of these windows and escape pod covers into this piece. The book calls for 17 regular windows and 18 dark windows, plus the 2 escape hatch covers. Same thing we just did, so again, I'm going to go put them all in here, and then I'll come back to continue the next part. Okay, so we're done with that, and we're going to put the next set of electrics and the cover on, but I wanted to come back and explain something. So, obviously, if you check out that link in the video, that link down below, he explains a lot about what they're talking about with light bleed, but I'm just going to quickly show you what it is. So, light bleed is a situation where on panels like these, where there's stuff that's just kind of slotted in there, in some angles, like you can see, like right there, light is bleeding through some of the cracks. It can be very minor, it can be very major, it just depends on how tight you get the pieces in. People do all kinds of things to combat that. They will use the method that the guy Wayne uses in the video I linked to. Again, check his stuff out if you want some advanced ideas. Some people will super glue the sections in that aren't, windows. They'll use black paint. I mean, it's really a matter of preference, what you're comfortable with, and if you're comfortable just leaving it as is and having the light bleed out in small sections, again, it's your model. Do what you want to do with it. Do what makes you happy. Now this section, we actually have 2 sets of electrics to use, because this, you can see here, has actually got 4 sections here. It's got 4 ports here, so this part's going to be important to make sure we get what we got to get right. So according to this, on this side we're going to have blue and red wire down in there, black and yellow one in this slot. This is going to be a pain. And then we're going to have this one. According to this, we're going to have these 2 wires in here. And then we're going to have this red and blue one go into this one. And the rest are going to be left out. Now for this, I'm not going to lie, what you're probably going to want to do is put them in as close as you can to the actual step. Popped out a window. Might have something you can set these up on. Kind of helps with keeping the windows in, because any slight nudge and these windows are going to pop out. So it's tricky. I'm not going to lie, it is very tricky. this is a case where it's might work better to do it the way where you lift it once you got the light in. Or once you put the reflector panel in, you might lift it just to put the light in a little bit. Then we'll screw it down just a bit. They're not coming out. There we go, we got that all good. You're probably wondering where this bulb's gonna go. Well, you probably know where it's gonna go. It's gonna go right up here. But we gotta find a way to secure that. That's where our next step comes in. So compared to all that we've just done, this next step's gonna be pretty much a breeze. First of all, we're going to metal. Second of all, we got just a few things to do in here. It is the equivalent of basically 1 sticker piece and 5 escape pod hatches. Yes, there are windows in there. You're not doing anything with those in this part of the build. There's also 2 special screws here. They're the DM screws, and you'll notice they have a much bigger head than your normal screws do, so that's how you can tell them apart. But for the first step, it's really easy. Taking this piece off. Now, like I said, I had done this already, but it's basically just got a sticky tack on the back. You're just going to kind of take it here, get it into the slot, and push it in until it is flush. That is a very tough thing to get out once it's in there, so you should be alright with that. Now we're going to flip it over. We're going to put on our lifeboat covers. Alright, the lifeboat covers are in, and now we're going to take the piece we were working on, right here. It's going to attach right on here. So right there, there's where the holes are. That's where you're matching up. And we just screw them in. Voila! There you go. You've got your first few deck plates done. Stage 4 is finished. Test the lights if you want. You should know they work though, because you probably tested them beforehand, as I mentioned in the last video. So that is it for stage 4. Stage 5, we're going to go back to the bridge, so I'll catch you there. Okay, so for stage 5, we got the bridge back out because stage 5 is all about the bridge section again. We're going to finish up deck 2, and we're going to add a piece to it. So the first step is we are going to add the main shuttle bay door to the back of the bridge here. So you need your shuttle bay door, obviously, and 2 BM screws. Flip your piece over here. Shuttle bay door is going to just kind of sit in. It slots right into place there. You can feel it go in. And then you're just going to screw it in with these screws. Alright, there we go. Since the screws are going into metal, make sure you get them as tight as you can. But that shuttle bay door should have no give, because unlike the show, this is not going to open up. So now we got the shuttle bay door on. We're going to add to our deck 2. So the first step is you need this big piece here and 4 of these screws. There is a sort of science to this. You can see there's a groove here. It's going to kind of slide into place. You'll know it when you get it in there right. You'll feel it kind of slide into place. You just got to kind of get your electrics out of the way. Once you get it slotted in, 4 screws, get it screwed in. Alright, those are in there now. And now the next stage, I'm just going to show you, the next part of this, I'm just going to show you, we got these 2 pieces. They're obviously going to go on the sides here. So we'll take those and these are joined together with BM screws. Each one gets 2, so we're going to take out all the parts you need before you start the section. Okay, so once again, just like with the front piece, there is a groove on here. You're just going to kind of slot it in. Well, actually, they start with this side. I mean, it doesn't really matter what side you want to start with, but just like the front piece, you see this groove right here. It slots right into that section, and then you screw it down with 2 screws. As much as you can. Try to use your ship to kind of hold them down into place. And now we'll put the other side on. Just the same way we did the first side. Alright, and there you go. Stage 5 is now done. Deck 2 is completed. You got the shuttle bay door on. So that's it for stage 5. Starting to look really impressive as far as the Bridge of the Enterprise D goes. Let's move on to stage 6. Okay guys, so our next step is nothing too spectacular. It's basically, we're going to start the skeletal structure for the saucer section of the ship. Again, you're going to be kind of disappointed when you see that this is a step we're going to do, but I feel like it's going to be very important later on because we obviously are going to need something to hold together this saucer section. So, it's tedious, but important. Let's get to it. So for this, we need 4 BM screws, our big piece here, and we have these 2 pieces here, a thin and a fat one. You're basically just going to fit them into the positions shown in the instructions and secure them with the 2 BM screws. Alright, so now we got them started in there. You want there to be no play on these, so just go through and tighten them up till you can't tighten them anymore and they don't move. There we have it. No play on that. Nice and tight in there. That's it for stage 6. Next video, we'll get our new kit, and you'll get to see stages 7 through 10. So that's it for this shipment. Tune in next time when we're going to put together stages 7 through 10, and you'll get the next of your free gifts. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and be sure to check out all of my great content. I will catch you next time on the Model Frontier.